All right, welcome to the first episode of Seek Out. My name is Miro Kontio, and today we have a first guest, and it's going to be a very interesting topic today. This is the first episode, so you never know what's going to happen, but yeah, just let the show begin. So welcome.
Okay. Oh, hello. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
No
Yeah,
problem.
so we agreed that I will give a short introduction of myself. I'm Petri Hakkarainen. I'm professional scriptwriter and director, and also a singer and author. These things are but I usually use my artist name, which is Pete Europe, which is from the 80s already, when I was in a club life and underground art life a lot here in Helsinki. And I started my sort of we could say, career of my path from there. First from underground and gang life and all this kind of things, and then little by little, coming up from there and proceeding towards more spiritual things, especially. And also in between, I was in the University of Helsinki, and then moved to the University of Industrial Arts in Helsinki, becoming the film director MA. So this is a very short introduction of myself.
All right, thank you, and welcome to the show. And you mentioned that you have been a DJ, so it was back in the 80s or 90s when you were
Yes,
doing DJing.
we started actually a whole period of a new period in Helsinki nightlife, and I was a part of a group which formed a club called Bela Lugosi after the Bauhaus first single, and it was a gothic club. And before that, we also were starting the kind of a new romantic age in Finland. So it was a very interesting time, very colorful and very interesting, and very intensive also. And lots of different kind of people came together during that time. So sort of let's say very colorful and very good time indeed, all of it. But of course, when you go into these club circles and also becoming an underground rock star, there's this minus side, which is,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about too much about it, but everybody knows what it is. So when I became 27, which is this usual, very famous saying like 27 heaven, it was very much true on my part. So 27, when I was basically kind of finished on that part and on many levels, and so I slowly started changing my life then.
And you have also done some movies and also been a writer, so you have done many things together. But
Yeah,
so
Stefan,
just if you have making movies, so what's the most common movie where you have directed?
we could say that I'm not really. I've not done really like that movies in that sense. I've done some series. I've done some documentaries, and my main work is Helsinki. What is Helsinki Twilight 1984? It's the English title of it, which was performed in Love and Anarchy International Film Festival 2010. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to accomplish much on that field. So I turned into the writing and became an author of 2 books now, and more is coming, hopefully. And then I've been lecturing more different subjects.
All right. I think one of the books was also the same, like Helsinki 1984.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's based on same material, but sort of handled in a different way. And also, I was doing the basic scripts for Jari Halonen Kalevala series, which was a very major Finnish TV production, 3
Oh yeah,
hours.
yeah.
So I was originally the scriptwriter.
So, which part of your life you get interested more about this? Let's just say spiritual things or something different than usually people. They only talk about mainstream topics or much more like down to earth things. But what I've understood that you have been interested in some more like spiritual things. So how can you say that?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it was. I can only tell that there was some kind of a seed all the time within me. I wasn't particularly a mystic or anything like that, especially not religious. I was always sort of my inner voice told me that all these religions are sort of like dark mirrors of the original things. So I had kind of a consciousness in me already when I was young that was telling me things and showing me things very clearly. So I don't know if that is usual with people or not, but for me it was a very typical thing that it was like my best friend was my own self. I could say it like this, and it warned me about many things and also helped me in many occasions. And I never thought about it at all because it was, of course, for me it was a very natural thing. But after this very heavy clubbing nightlife and rock star life, of course, then I got exhausted about all these things, and things started changing. And then I thought that I want to understand something about this world. I mean, very profound, because I have always felt that there's some kind of a very profound something. I can't sort of determine what it is or what it was. It was just a kind of an inner feeling, kind of an intimacy with something,
Yes.
which I can't tell exactly what it is. So 1988, after quitting that summer drugs, all the drugs, all alcohol, mostly smoking, and some other bad habits, I decided that I would go to America to meet the Hopi tribe people. Because what I have learned through books like Frank Waters, the Hopi, that they were very wise people and they had very, very old, long roots. So I assumed that at least they would know something. At least they would understand life and something deeper. And in 1988, when I was in August ready to leave Finland, I suddenly bumped into this poster. And in this poster was a very severe-looking lady. And she looked like a Native American, actually. She was very sort of you could say, handsome, very stern-looking, very majestic, and looked very much like an American Indian, American native people.
Natives,
but she wasn't. She was from India, and that's how it started. She was Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi, and I got my self-realization that summer, 1988. So we could call it the official self-realization, which means that my state, my inner being, and my mental state changed immediately into something more clear and more, you say, more stable than it was. So immediately I understood that, okay, this is something now, and then I started to follow that line with the Native American line. So those were the basic two paths that have been sort of like nourishing my being since 1988, which is this yoga path, and which is the other one is the native wisdom.
Yes. What I've understood that Hopi tribe is probably the oldest tribe in Northern America, and they have also read many books of Eric von Daniken, and he's mentioned that Hopi Indians actually knew that there has been like extraterrestrial life in some point in this planet. Have you heard anything about this kind of things?
Yeah, I read all those myself. You know, I was young. I was a very, very ardent reader. when I was in Helsinki University, I learned to read already when I was 5 years old. And in my home there was a huge library. All classics were there from different countries and everything. So I started reading very, very early. And then when I went to the Helsinki University, 1980, I started with foreign literature. So that was my main subject for a while. So yes, of course. But the thing is that, when we go deeper in these things, which we might, of course, a couple of hours is very short time. I try to keep into the essence of things, because this world, the difficulties of this world is at the moment is that everything is splintered into small fragments, and it's fragmented in a very severe way. And so we don't have things that connect much more anymore. And that's why we have all these situations that everybody's against each other, and everybody like in a this summer environment, everybody's like in a war. I mean, normal people even. And about this Däniken thing, is that we could talk like many hours about this subject, but I don't want to go there because it's a subject in itself, and we can. What we can do more is to unite the spiritual basic concepts. We could say the truths about it, and through quantum physics and the latest ideas of physics, because they reveal us something which is very essential. And if I put it in a very easy way, because we talk to we are basically talking not to the scientists, but for just the ordinary people, is that the main ideas of nowadays quantum physics is that there doesn't exist objective reality. That's the main thing. Because anything with or how you observe or study the reality, the quantum reality, it changes it already. Because every kind of observation, even the putting a mathematical idea of it, is an energy. It's an energy form. And in a quantum field, if we suppose that it exists, of course, that is also a very theoretical field, we could say. You cannot poke into it in any way because you have already changed it. And now I start a little bit my style of sort of lecturing about these things. So very few people usually combine different areas of knowledge. And if I put now a parallel knowledge from William Blake, and I mean, mostly people know William Blake. If you are a little bit civilized person, you know who William Blake is. So William Blake is like England's national poet, and also a national engraver painter. And he was a very particular person in that sense that when we have, for example, Bible, we have old Indian texts. I mean, India, not native Indian text. There are people who we call rishis or seers or saints in all this. And these people differ from ordinary people so that they have witnessed or seen, whoever we put the words, in themselves or in their mind or in their inner cosmos. Again, whatever term we use. Things that are not a sense perceptible. So that it means that you can't see them with your own normal senses, no smell, no eyes, no hearing. But they come with a vision or inner intuition. And what he was talking about was that our mental capacity is such that it creates all the time things that are, we could say, dead. It creates like a dead world. And inside of this dead world, there is another world, which is a created world. And this he called the divine imagination. So that originally things are in this divine imagination. It means that there's a consciousness that imagines the world to exist. Okay?
Yes.
Then, yeah. Then when we become Homo sapiens, let's say, we lose that connection, and our senses turn outwards, and we lose that connection. So we start creating mental worlds, same as everybody does, when we start writing and reading and whatever artistic processes. But the thing is that that only some part of that intuitive process is okay. Yeah, and now this comes back to this Däniken thing, that some of these things that we create or mankind has created are on certain energy level, and they have created future worlds. Like we've created novels, we create different texts, we create different scenes of art or whatever. And this mind has capacity to create worlds. And in some occasions, these worlds, if there are enough people putting their attention into the same frequency, can open these worlds. I don't know if this is clear enough. Yes, and it means two things. Okay, we might have UFOs here. I don't say anything about it, but at the moment we are very much dealing with these kind of things in the U.S. government. So the U.S. government is actually researching these things. But do they have them? How they have them? Where they have them? And who has ordered all these different buildings of these different kind of let's say spaceships or whatever, propulsion techniques or whatever you call them. And this New Jersey thing was just there. But the thing is that okay, one thing is that the governments have done it. So they have created these kind of things, what we call UFOs now. But the other thing is also that in old texts, there are also descriptions of these kind of things.
Yeah, that's true.
And usually we could say that the seers, saints, or different kind of people, depending on where they put their attention to. So where they can, from where they opened different dimensions. And now this is quantum physics. You can open different levels of consciousness and let things that are there to be shown.
But
this is what they do at the moment. Yeah, this is what they do at the moment in CERN, in a Swiss laboratory also. So the scientists who are working there have said that they have opened different dimensions. And if we put it back now, the quantum physics, which means that the observation process or the energy adding process to some dimension will connect some kind of a dimension. They become like harmonized. So that opens something. And if we think about what Blake said about this, the nature of consciousness, we can say that the nature of consciousness itself is infinite. We call it usually God or Allah or Krishna or something like this. That means, or if we look at the clip of Wallace Black Elk later in this program, we can say that it's a great mystery, like the native Indians said, because they are very polite. They are not like us, that like a scientific mind that I have to know, I have to determine this, I have to be confident what it is. So we are trying to determine things that we cannot determine because it's impossible. It's totally impossible. And this is because the nature of consciousness is such that it's inherently in itself contains everything that is the past, that is future, and all the possibilities that ever can exist. Is this a little bit clear?
Can I ask one question? What comes to
Yeah.
about the aliens? So you try to say that they are not from other planets, that they are more likely from another dimensions.
I rather wouldn't take these discussions into these UFOs and aliens. But okay, I answer all this. There are aliens, of course, because there's infinite possibility of beings that have been created and have existed and exist and in the future will exist. There's a lot of things like that. But we can more talk about levels, because planets are levels. Planets are they appear to be outside, but in fact they are not outside. But also this we can discuss a little bit. I can tell about some experience of myself. I mean, what I have experienced and how they have been shown to me. I mean, that's kind of like a more reality than anything that has been written or read or anything like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have actually one book here. Maybe it's a coincidence, but in this book, Bhagavad Gita, they were telling that planets are like more or less physical planets or like spiritual planets in different levels. Like,
yeah,
yes.
That's exactly what they are. To define this more is like that human being. We have this cliche, which of course not all the nations in the world right under that human being is made of the image of God.
Yes.
This is one thing which is in Christianity. I don't say anything about it if it's true or not true, but we have that concept that they exist. This concept, and we can say that a human being is a miniature model of the cosmos, not maybe of God, but cosmos. And in India, old texts, if you see, they call it the Virata Purusha, which is the cosmic being, Virata Purusha, or the Purusha, the great cosmic being. And also in Kabbalah texts, we have this idea of the Adam Kadmon, the original soul from which things then separated from smaller portions. And that means that the outer cosmos that we see and we perceive, keeping in mind again this quantum physics theory and keeping in mind also what William Blake has said, our senses create the visions that we see and we receive. So that's the one thing. But this cosmos itself is the Virata Purusha, the great human being, or not human as such, but the great being of which we are part and parcel of. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, I try to imagine that. I have seen one article back in the days. There was a few scientists who tried to figure it out how big a universe actually is. And one theory was that, of course, multiverses exist, and if you combine all those multiverses, it's gonna start to draw some kind of figure, and that figure could be more or less something close to human. But I'm not sure about that article. Was it even clearly scientific, or was it also only some kind of like very hypothetical thing? But that's one thing I have read many years ago, that one theory is that if you combine all the multiverses together, it's actually the biggest form of those universes is like it looks like a human being, kind of.
Well, the difficulty is that we have these theories around the world, so many, but the real knowledge is lacking almost everywhere. Like the original jhana or gna, from which the knowledge word is also coming from, which is an Indian word, which means wisdom. And the difficulty is that the theories are never right.
Yeah.
They are never right.
Yeah, that's just theories.
They're just theories. And if we see like the development of the theoretical thoughts or the rational development, or this intellectual world, let's say, for 500 years. It's total rubbish. Basically, you can say, if you look at all like these medical ideas that have come within last 500 years, and also scientific knowledge, and we go back like 100 years, 50 years, we can laugh at them. But how could they be so stupid? But at this time, we somehow think that we are very advanced, that now we know very much. This is kind of a joke. And why I say this is actually, we could soon go to these clips that I have given to you. But the thing is that the main thing about this discussion is that we have a concept which is called mind. Everybody talks about mind, how I see things, how I think, how I feel. But the reality of mind is such that it doesn't exist. There is no mind. And that is a sort of like the biggest or the greatest paradox in the whole universe. And now, I mean, of course, this is now a theoretical sort of a statement for everybody, so nobody has to believe it. But if we think about now what we have been talking this far, about all these things that we have now discussed with you, is that they are all mental concepts, aren't they? They are something that is received and processed through mental observations and mental processing. Intellectual, analytical, theoretical, mathematical, physical, chemical, and all these things. All these are related to the senses, and all these are related to the mind, which controls processes there. But the interesting thing is that I'll give a very easy example like this. Or again, not so easy, I don't know. When we talk about peace, we have a concept of peace. Everybody's talking about peace, especially now when these lunatics are trying to get this third world war going on, and more business deals than ever, because that's what it is, basically. It's nothing else. It's not about morals, it's not about democracy, it's not about liberty, it's nothing like this. It's about money.
Yes,
it's about possessions, nothing else. But it's sort of right. Okay, we talk about peace, which for us is a very valuable thing. What does peace mean?
That no one is fighting.
No, don't go there. Let me sort of get it felt. What does peace mean? Peace means a state where there is no movement which distracts anything. Either it is immovable state, or the movement in that state is so gentle that it doesn't create opposing forces. It's quite sort of like we say mildly put what it is. So basically we can say that everybody usually who is in normal senses wants to have peace. At least he wants to have peace home. At least he wants to have peace with the children or his children, and with the wife or the partner. And in the best part of it, he wants to have a peace in a society. Why? Because when there is a peace, a state of peace. Now that we are not talking about abstracted peace as a concept. We talk about a state of peace, which means that it is an inner state. Peace is never an outer state. It cannot be. So what does it mean? It means that people who are not in themselves in a state of peace create war, or create contradictions, or create these stupid social media arguments where they have these smiling faces when somebody says that, which is a sign of aggression. So coming back to these essences, peace is universally appreciated in all religions, in all spiritual texts, and in our daily life. So it must be something which is very, very basic. And there's only one concept now. So state of peace. So how do we achieve a state of peace? Now let's put it this way before this Christian clip, which is very interesting. When a normal person who's like watching this now, I don't know about you, but most of us, we have two things in our minds, which is also a very general concept. One is saying, no, I can't do this, I can't, no, I want this, I can't do it, I haven't got power to do it, I can't, I'm too lazy or whatever. And the other one outside says, yeah, I can do it, yeah, I want it, let me put force in. So we live what is called dualism. This creates a dualistic mind. And again, we talk about mind, that there is a dualism in mind, and this is universally everywhere. This is kind of like, like the sorrow, the happiness, anger, calm, all these contradictions or polarities. And when I teach drama and script writing, we deal with all these concepts all the time, because these are the things how the human drama has evolved. So we deal it dramatically with these opposition things. But now comes the main, the very easy part of it to realize. If we would be the emotions, let's say I'm in love, I got passion, I hate somebody, okay. These are not permanent states, as everybody knows. So they're like waves. They come and go, and then they disappear also. Yes. So then we can say that there's no permanency in any of these mental, emotional projections. This is a kind of like truth. These are the basic fundamental truths. So there's no stability in emotions. They're like waves. So do we identify with the waves? Do I say that I am emotion, I am anger? No, we don't say that. We said, no, I have anger.
Yes.
The other side of this is that we are planning things. So we want to achieve things, this plus side of us, this ego side of us. I want this, I want to become like that, I want to be like that, I want to have all the gold in the world, I want to be a banker, whatever it is. It's a small or a big thing, but it's the same thing always. So that's a construction of ideas. It comes from somewhere, usually from lacking of something, or a state where you feel that you are not sufficient enough, that you're not good enough, or something like this. That's quite clear, isn't it? Basic psychology. So we project these things then to the mind. And the mind says that when I do like this, I will achieve like that. And then we do this over and over and over again, till maybe we own the whole universe, maybe. Very few people do that, but the idea is the same. And in that process, there cannot be peace, because it's achieving process. It's like a competition process, an achieving process, and the goal is out of us somewhere.
Yes, always.
So it's always a futuristic process.
Yes.
Okay, then we say, do I say that I am this thought of conquering the world? I am this architect who designs this. Okay, some people do it. So we can say that they create alter ego of their doings, or they create ego, the sense of me, and then they identify with it.
Yes.
But what happens when they lose it? Suddenly they don't have that ego anymore.
Yeah.
So then we can say that there's no permanency in this process also. So now what we have done with this very small conversation here is that we nullify the idea that the human being can be a mind. Because all these things appear in the mind, and mind constructs these things, and mind senses things. But the interesting idea is this, that all the time when we do this, even in the middle of this conversation, there is a third part in us, which is observing all.
Yeah, you can observe yourself, basically. If you're
Yes,
getting
and this,
anger, you notice that you're getting
exactly. Yeah. And actually, to get out of these kind of states, which can be very painful, you have to identify with the inner being, the one who's observing, because that doesn't change. And only that state, which is the inner being, which is observing these two sort of like changing states, is permanent, and the peace is there. So what does this mean? This means that no human being, no one who listens here, no one wants to know, is an ego. They are not the mind. No one of us. So we are something else. We are all the time, every single second, and all our lives, we are something else than what we imagine us to be.
is it like consciousness?
This is a core of the old, what we called know thyself. Like in the Matrix movie, there's when they go to this, what is that, the woman called now?
Was it Morpheus? No.
Not Morpheus, but the woman.
Oh, the woman.
Archetype.
Oracle or something.
Oracle. What was it, Oracle?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Over the door there, know thyself. And now I think we have had enough of these basic things for now. And let's see this clip of Sri Krishna. I will tell a little bit about it. I use this also in my teachings because it's very, very fundamental. This is from about 6,000 years before Christ, 5,000 years before Christ. And this is nowadays confirmed. It's the Indians' national epic called Mahabharata, Great Land, Mahabharata. And it is a spiritual story of the whole mankind. That's what they call it, the spiritual story of the whole mankind. And this episode that we are going to see is in the middle of the battlefield. There's a warrior called Arjuna, who represents the willpower of the divine. And then there is a incarnation of a deity, of a god called Krishna, who represents the pure consciousness. And these two stop in the middle of the battlefields. And this Arjuna, who should be the main hero of the movie, starts like what do you say in English? Starts wondering if his actions are okay. So he's like trying to back up, because there on the other side there are his teachers, his cousins, his friends, and everything. So they are now the enemy.
Oh yeah.
And he questions the thing that why should I battle? Why should I go into this horrible war, which has happened also?
Oh yes.
And then there is a very short and very intensive period where this God figure tells about the essence of mankind. What is the essence of our actions and our human being? And that's what is revealed in this very short text. And this is from Peter Brook, who is maybe the most famous theater director, English theater director. His 9-hour version of a play of Mahabharata, which was then shortened a little bit for a film, which is very excellent, and I really recommend everybody to watch it. It's very, very intensive and very, very sort of enlightening part of a piece of art. So if you find it, you can put it the Christian part, and we can talk after that.
Yeah, it's a few minutes, so not 9 hours this time. Yeah.
No.
I have to put it like in the whole screen.
Hey,
you want...
put it, yeah. No,
Yeah.
put it whole screen.
Yeah. So like this.
Yeah.
Mad and shameful weakness. Stand up and fight.
I'm in anguish. I can't see where my duty lies. Teach me.
What is Krishna doing?
He's speaking to Arjuna.
What is he saying?
He's telling Arjuna that victory and defeat are the same. He's urging him to act, but not to reflect on the fruit of the act. He says to him, seek detachment. Fight without desire.
You say, forget desire, seek detachment. Yet you urge me to battle, to massacre. Your words are ambiguous. I am confused.
Krishna tells him, don't withdraw into solitude. Renunciation is not enough. You must act, yet action mustn't dominate you.
In the heart of action, you must remain free from all attachment.
How can I put into practice what you are demanding of me? The mind is capricious, unstable. It's evasive, feverish, turbulent, tenacious. It's harder to subdue than taming the wind.
You must learn to see with the same eye a mound of earth and a heap of gold, a cow and a sage, a dog and the man who eats the dog. There's another intelligence beyond the mind.
Passion drags us away. Darkness dulls our senses. How can I find this intelligence? With what will?
To reply to this question, Krishna led Arjuna through the tangled forest of illusion. He began to teach him the ancient yoga of wisdom and the mysterious path of action. He spoke for a long time, very long time, between the two armies preparing to destroy themselves.
So the thing is that this Mahabharata war was a very, very bloody war, very severe war, and there was very few who survived, very, very few. And it was an archetypal war between the darkness and the light, or the consciousness and the evil, or whatever, or God, devil, however you put this there.
Yeah.
The thing is that the teaching of it is that if you don't live in a right way, if you don't seek the essence, and as he said, there's another intelligence beyond the mind. This is exactly the thing that we were talking about. And you're only in this field of mind, which means the Kurukshetra. And if you know the Mahabharata story, the battle happened in a Kurukshetra field. Kurukshetra means the field of, how do you say, osallistuminen? Mikä on osallistuminen? Kind of field of participating. So the field, which means that you come into the senses and you come into the mind. So you become enarmored by your mind and your senses, and then you are in a Kurukshetra.
Okay.
So that's a battlefield. So our mind is a battlefield, and that is why the peace can never be in the mind. It's impossibility, because the peace is a quality that is only in the observer, as they call in India, Sakshi, which is inside of your mind. And the interesting thing is also, when you come back to the William Blake, is that William Blake said very clear that you shouldn't see with the eyes, but you should see through the eyes. So there's a different thing. We watch and we are making the universe to go out. So the universe looks like all these starry heavens and everything like this. But when you go inside, probably, I don't say it happens like that, just like that, but there's a possibility that something else opens. And now I tell one of my own experiences. I have never usually talked about, especially these, publicly, because these are not very public things. I told about this to some yogi friends and some other friends. When I was in my first wife's apartment, we were just dating. I was quite young then, and it was just a normal, nice evening, nothing special. I was leaning onto a table. It was very peaceful and nice, and I didn't meditate or anything. I didn't wish for anything. It was just nice. And I closed my eyes, and suddenly, this part here, which is called Hamsa chakra, in the between the eyebrows, for some reason, which I have no idea why it happened, I didn't do anything, it opened. And suddenly the whole space was there. The whole space that we see outside was there. And there was also one interesting detail, which was there, that in the space, I was nobody. So I wasn't sort of existing as such. It was only consciousness. But in that huge space, I saw a star, like a falling star. And I started watching it somehow in this consciousness. And I realized that this falling star represents a desire that will never be fulfilled. So it is an archetypal image of a process that is inside of us when we dream or want things, and they just go endlessly in the space. It never gets fulfilled. This lasted about half a minute, so it wasn't very short also. So it lasted quite long.
Yeah.
It was very pleasant. It was nothing special. It wasn't anything shocking. It was just like, changing direction, and then it was there. And in a similar way, I came back to there, nothing, everything was as it was. And it never was repeated in that form again. This is one of the things. I can't speak about many things, but I'll just tell you that this is an experiment or experience which was completely real, completely sober, complete clarity, everything, nothing special. So that gave me. Sorry, yeah.
You didn't expect that to happen. It just happened.
No, not at all. Yeah, it just happened. Actually, I have to tell you that I have been meditating 36 years in a realized state, which means that a thoughtless state, that there are no thoughts. And everything that has happened, we could say the biggest things, has always happened spontaneously without me doing anything, not even meditating. So it's kind of a funny thing in a sense that even meditation, if you, of course, you have to do regularly if you want to sort of improve yourself and to become more subtle. But even that is not the answer. There's something like flipping in you, which is not in your hands. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's.
But anyway, do you want to comment? Do you want to comment anything about this, or shall we continue this sort of?
Yeah, I've noticed that I do music sometimes. I try to compose things or make songs, and I never can predict that when I have this feeling that now I can do something good. So like you had this experience, it's also for me that I never can know before I start to play something, and then I realize, okay, this goes like it should be. If I try to do it like, if I decide that now I'm going to compose a beautiful song, I cannot do anything. So
Yeah.
And of course I'm usually always sober when I do music, and I also have to say I never meditate, so I don't know anything about that. I've done yoga when I was younger, so and what you told me about the peace of mind, maybe in some relaxation practice I have almost I can say that I've been in a peaceful state of mind, like maybe a few seconds or maybe a few minutes. But after that, again, I start to think like most people or everybody thinks that to the future, then I need to do this, then I need to do that, and tomorrow I'm going to do this. So yeah, I try to understand
that is enormous. The fact is, the spiritual, physical fact is that you cannot, by willpower, stop the mind, because the one who is willing to do that is the mind itself.
Yes.
So that is why very, very often meditations also get you into completely wrong directions. They actually create more force into the mind because it's more concentrated and more sort of energy into that and more control into it. And this all, well, I don't say anything else because I don't want to sort of spoil anyone's days, but it's a kind of a tricky thing.
Yeah.
But these are very, we could say, deeply spiritual things. If we go that way, we have to start talking already practices of spirituality, which is quite a sort of I would say it doesn't belong to the people who don't really want it. And that's why I don't want to go that deep in them. But why I was taking this subject up, this mind and the paradox of the mind, is that we are now in the Mahabharata.
You mean in your mind or in this physical reality?
No, I come to that. Physical reality is manifestation of the mind. Physical reality in a collective mind manifests as a collective happenings. So it means that we are now in the same Mahabharata. There are two different forces, main forces, opposing each other, as we know. Third World War cannot be ignited without two opposing forces. That's very clear, isn't it? So it means that the whole mankind is in agitated state. And it's no use, even if there's hundreds of these people who go marching that we want peace, if the state of peace is not inside of themselves. Because the collective energy that is projected outside is not harmonious. It's not peaceful. And now, if we make the parallel, thinking that, see, what happened about 5,000 years ago? The main thing started 3,150 years before Christ, approximately. That was the real starting point. They talk about the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, where all morals, all our human beings become smaller, more stupid, immoral, full of wrong habits, and very destructive. So that happened after this clip that we saw. That there was a big war. Yeah, there was a big war. And then became the dark period of darkness. And this December, December, we came out of the Kali Yuga. And we are approaching now, there's a kind of bridging state when we are going towards Satya Yuga. And what it means, there was a very, very good Indian astrologer I recently was watching his lecture. And he put it in a very good way. And he said that it's like a force that was there. Everything that was accumulating and gathered as a force during this Kali Yuga, which is very dark force, very, very destructive, very selfish, very greedy, very sexual. So all these very low qualities. So they come now like a mass downhill. And when this new yuga starts, this new period, which has started now, right now, when we are talking now, starting now, when it starts, it cannot stop it. but it only can start little by little growing, like little seeds here and there coming up. But the destruction will come, and you can't stop it because it's so forceful. But the seeds of this goodness or this peace, what we are talking about, or the spirit, we can go into this idea of spirit also if you want. It's been born now, and it's being born collectively. So that is a kind of a very comforting idea. That the force that is acting at the moment and sort of trying to nullify or change this very dark negative force has been grown also, and it's collective force. So it means that, like the people here on this channel, Totuuden Etsijät, the Truth Seekers channel, they talk about themselves as we are awakened, aren't they? Everybody's talking like this. The wake people, not the woke people, but the wake people, the people who are awakened. So what does it mean? It means exactly that the collective consciousness that Carl Jung was talking about, the human collective consciousness, if we accept that it exists, of course we have to then accept it, has been formulating us already for a long time now. And little by little, things like you and me are popping up from the mud. Pop, 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 pop. And these seeds are starting to discuss. And they're starting to discuss in a harmonious way, not arguing, not wanting to have, stone hard opinions, not aggressive way. I mean, in the best part of it. And they start talking. And I mean, this might be trivial for some people, but even these kind of things like Joe Rogan, who is now the most famous podcaster, has, I think, hundreds of millions of people watching him. He's like a good example of this new time. That, okay, he's just a lad. He's a guy, very heavy fighter. He's got many black belts. He's been in a cage. So he's a tough guy, sort of like streetwise guy. He doesn't pose to be anything special. And he takes people into his program which are on all kinds of fields. Just interesting people. And they talk like we talk. And this new era of discussions, these podcasters, like in this program too, they are very important. That is why the new censorship has been trying to put them all out on all fields.
Yeah, of course.
Because we can discuss peacefully, which means harmoniously about things. Whatever I say, nobody has to take it like truth. Okay, if they accept it, it's okay. If they don't, it's okay. I don't get anything from it. I don't need your acceptance. I'm not here to please anybody. I'm just talking. So this kind of like sharing of the information, sharing of experiences, sharing of knowledge, which little by little will elevate the stature of human beings or state of human beings. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, what I've noticed that, especially in social media and those Telegram groups and stuff like that, many people still argue very, very much. They are in a low energy state of mind.
Yeah.
I've done the same mistakes, of course, because I'm a human being. I have also a mind. So sometimes, okay, in now we can discuss like in harmony, but in some points that people are arguing even in these podcasts. So, but I understand your point that the seeds are there and they are starting to grow, and in some point it turns the direction a little bit different. Hopefully,
we are only on our way. We are not ready yet. Otherwise, we would be all enlightened, wouldn't we? We are on our way. So, of course, also the the opposite force is very strong, because people are. What I teach in drama is that that all the people, when we start a drama, script or whatever, that they are in a state of conservatism, which means that everybody of us. This doesn't mean political conservatism. It means psychological conservatism, and everybody is in a different way conserving and wanting to have the status quo of themselves. So they want to be nicely in the state that they are used to be. For somebody, it means that they are running 20 kilometers. For somebody, it means that they're climbing mountains and seeking for dangers. But that's also conservatism. It means that wherever that individual feels like, I want to be here, I'm comfortable in this state, they want to remain in it. And that's psychological conservatism. And this psychological conservatism, the more ignorant you are, and the more, we could say, it's a little bit dirty word, middle class, which means that you want to have just your meals, your pet, your wife, your house, car, and your vacations, only that. And that's the only thing that is important. These people very easily become fascists because they have lots to defend. They want to defend this kind of a conservative state where their psyche is. And this becomes very easily fascism.
Yeah, I've noticed.
So maybe you understand what I mean. So the opposition force is also always very, very powerful.
One question: what comes about the mind? Does the mind represents you like same thing as consciousness? Like, is mind the consciousness and the spirit itself? I think it's something else. Yeah,
no, not
at
all. Not at all. Yeah. But hey, let's look at. Let's close this timeline for this beginning of this discussion before we go into the further. And let's look at this Matrix video. And why I say this. The Matrix movie is probably the most affected to the younger generation of our planet. It was very, 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 very deeply affecting everybody, as probably everybody knows. And the funny thing is that the first part of the trilogy is completely archetypal. It means that it is completely like the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. It is completely like what Carl Gustav Jung represented us to be. So it's completely like that, the first part of it. And even the names of the people, the protagonist and the actors, the side roles, they all have archetypal names. So why I want to show this is that if we see this, if we saw this Krishna clip, the Mahabharata clip, that happened, let's say 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. And this is a new thing in 1990 or 1999, I don't know.
99, yeah.
Maybe 1999. The contents is exactly the same. And this is again, interesting parallel for our time. That is something trying to tell us that wake up.
Oh, yes.
Because that's what I mean. And even the main thing is that even in Hollywood, which is the nest of all sin and immoral things and all kinds of dirty things that there are, and also this star cult and everything, which we could say is very bad in that sense. It's very questionable to say. And still the structure in many movies is enlightened, like in this one. And the producer was Weinstein, who's now in jail. So again, this kind of a good, evil, light, darkness, strange combinations of it create anyway for us something that reminds us, hey, maybe you should wake up. And let's look at the clip and make a parallel in your mind and think about this previous one, this Krishna clip. because it's completely the same.
And now I put it like that.
This is it. Let me give you one piece of advice. Be honest. He knows more than you can imagine.
At last. Welcome, Neo. As you no doubt have guessed, I am Morpheus.
It's an honor to meet you.
No, the honor is mine. Please, come, sit. I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neo?
No,
Why not?
because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix?
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
Yeah, that was. I loved that movie when it first came out.
No, so yeah, it's amazing. It's really, really wonderful, but only the first part. The second and the third part, I couldn't even watch them because the first part is so precise and so full. I mean, it's I can't say the right words for it, but it's just like it should be. It's just there. Everything else is just kind of a repetition and more guns and more action and more everything. But it's totally archetypal, and it's totally archetypal also describing our inner journey, how it happens. I used these both examples in my teachings when I teach drama and script writing. But I think we should a little bit go further from this thing now. And in the beginning, I was talking about how you were asking me that what title could we give to this program? And I was referring that maybe it should be the human evolution.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll start going a little bit that direction. So we have a concept of evolution, which of course this person like Darwin sort of completely messed up. So only a very small part of humanity believes in Darwin's theories. It's something that like these Bible things and everything. We have been hypnotized and manipulated to think that these are truths, that these are actually how things are, but they're very far from it. First time when I sort of really clashed into this in a good way was when I went to see 1991. I was in the Mohawk Reservation, the Iroquois, in Canada, in border area, Canada. And I went there to do the interviews for my film. And I realized that these people, they live in a completely different context than us. Completely. They have a different time set. They have a different kind of mind. If they have a mind, I don't know. But it was all totally different. And they were just laughing at kind of the stupid theories that you have become from a monkey. For them, it was hilarious stupidity. The same thing happened in India also, because India has a very, very strict tradition and knowledge of how everything is created. The Bible doesn't tell it, nor the Quran, nor any of these. They are very new things, and they are just put together. They are all put together. They are like fairy tales. And whenever now, especially nowadays, there has been very critical and very intelligent researchers with all these areas. It's clearly shown already that they are put together from pieces and from much older stories. And India has these very old stories still remaining, and they are all of them coming up more and more of these old texts and sources there. So we don't know yet everything. It's only a very small amount of it. But their time frames are completely different. They are like hundreds of thousands of years, like this. And also, I was just watching yesterday the latest archaeological findings, which put the finding of the man, I mean, not Homo sapiens, but like clearly the man and tools, to 350,000 years old. So that's the latest, and even older are there. So we can say that we are captured by fairy tales mainly. This is what we call evolution. And the main point why we have this kind of a very childish timeline, it's about starting from about 4,000, 3,000 before Christ, so-called, from Egypt and from Mesopotamia, is that we got a patriarchate patriarchic wave of consciousness rising up somewhere around 3000 before Christ, approximately, starting from there. And this is very interesting because it coincides with the rise of this Kali Yuga, the age of moral decay, the age of losing the deeper consciousness, age of losing the morality. And at the same time, we have a very strong patriarchic sort of a wave coming up. And this then, of course, took the forms of Christianity, the Hebrew Jewish religion, and Christianity. So what is common to these three things? Well, one thing is that they became very aggressive, as everybody knows. So all of this were very wildly running around the world, grabbing either possessions, lands, slaves, or killing other people, and then converting them, sort of converting. So the main thing was that what the patriarchic idea did is a very fundamental thing. It created the idea of one God. And now this was very sort of much highlighted everywhere and praised, and still is, that there's one God, our God. Like I have this very, very nice Muslim man, was a general of Yasser Arafat. He became my good friend, an old man, and I was sitting in his cafe, and he was always praising, my God is like this. And it was nice. He was a good person, no doubt about that. But there was this my, mine, ours, one God. So what is the difficulty with this concept? If you talk about one God, it's like an object. It's a construction. It's an abstraction of a mental field or spiritual field which is concentrated in the number one and God. So it concretizes something that shouldn't be concretized. I don't know if this is clear enough, but I try to sort of come forward. So because this was a male thing, all the males, of course, started to be first of these god males, kings, all these kind of things. So it means that the god and position of power, concentrated power, became like one. Then became churches, or somebody who is representing the church, which means that only one person or one institute is the same as this one God. So this all was concretized. And this is very typical for this Kali Yuga, that we start believing, first of all, that materialism is the main thing, that only the material is reality. Then we start thinking that the hierarchy structures are reality, that you have to have hierarchy structures to have a functioning society. And there has to be either a king or the priest or the teacher, like university teacher, who know more and better than you yourself. That creates hierarchy. Well, what was very enlightening when I went to these native people to meet them and talk with them, I have had a very sort of a big, you could say, privilege to have met very, very, we could say, enlightened people, many of them. And with this, I mean the older generation native people who have been brought up still like native people, not like Christians, not like Americans, but the old way. And when you talk with them, you very soon realize something, which is that you start crashing into your own limitations. So the mind or mental constructions that you have starts sort of like bang, like, oh, so what do I do now? And this happened to me in a very, very good way, very, very nice way. I mean, many times, not only one time, many times. And why this is important when I take this subject up is that they are matriarchal. All 500 tribes of North America, and also mainly we would say South America too, a little bit in different variations. They are matriarchal. So it means that the feminine is the most important.
Yes,
They don't have a
back in the days.
it was same in all the northern areas, Russia areas, all these Finno-Ugric people and everything. And that is why the women, first of all, the women were free. They were basically completely free. They were appreciated, they were sought after with knowledge, and they were consulted with. And many prophets were, like prophets in they were also women. So they were women of wisdom. So we lost all that. But in America, this is all living. They never lost it. It's still all living. And I think the first thing was that I understood that these abstractions that we create in our minds are all false. And what it meant as an experience is that the one God idea originally was something else. And this is very important to understand, especially for Finnish people. It was oneness. It was harmony. It was this great mystery. A thing that we cannot sort of conceal or surround with anything. It exists, but we can't say what it is. It exists everywhere, in everything, as a spirit, as you know, the native people. So it means that everything in a creation, or however you call it, is in a way equal, because they are of the same spirit. Their appearances and their abilities are different. And this is the mother. As well as Black Elk, the famous Lakota holy man said to me that, I tried to quote it. Well, it's in a clip, I think, yeah. Let's see the clip, but not yet. But what he said about that there's wisdom, and the wisdom encompasses the knowledge. So the wisdom holds in itself the knowledge. And the knowledge is the woman. And the knowledge is the temple of God. If we put this in Indian concepts, in India they're saying that when the creation happened, Lord Shiva, who is the origin of all, which means consciousness, spirit. I come to this later also. The spirit that created everything was feeling shy, and that's why it created a spouse or a feminine around it, which took a form of a universe. So in a playful way, it is said that because I have no form, I'm pure consciousness, I'm the spirit. To become existent as such, I have to become a reflection. And reflection is my spouse, the mother. And the mother is the same as the universe. It's very beautifully put. And very, very nice. So we lost all that. Because this patriarchic movement of consciousness, and then solidifying societies led by male and male consciousness, patriarchy, it became solidified. So nothing was living in it, because nothing was oneness. It was one God, one there. And if you had to understand the one God, you had to read books. The books are never in time, as you understand. Everybody understands this. They are references to things, not something which happens right now. So what this means is that we started creating laws, regulations, constructions, ideas, idealisms, all kinds of things which are constructions. As we were talking a little bit earlier about this mental thing, that you have an emotional side, and then you have this other side which constructs thoughts, thought processes. And we started identifying with this. So the whole society, including all the feminists, became patriarchic because they copied the male reaction types and male patterns of behavior. So that's a sad part. So now we go back to our own roots and why it is quite essential to understand the structure of human being and the universe, to at least to some extent, because it liberates us quite a lot. And now I have to jump a little bit to the deeper spiritual things. I have talked about this already earlier in Truth Seekers.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I was talking about, or referring a little bit to the phenomena we call Kundalini. Kundal means coiled up. And I've said before already in these interviews that everywhere in the world we see two signs, everywhere, in every single continent. One is a swastika sign, and one is the coil sign. I can't now go deeper. I think we don't have time about this swastika thing. I'm just referring that my teacher who was teaching me yoga, Saj Yoga, originally, very nice gentleman whose name I don't want to say here. He's been studying now and constructing things and given interviews about the construction of the swastika in an atomic world. They started in 1985 already, but it's still not out there. And I'm one of the very, very few people on this whole earth who have been given the glimpse of that work, where the swastika sign and our atomic structure are now proven to be one and the same. So it's very, very fundamental. It's actually the most fundamental part of what we call the existence of material world.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not yet out there. We have to wait. But anyway, this is one part of it. This Kundal was known quite short time, we could say. I think it was the 11th century, approximately, when it was first revealed sort of publicly or discussed publicly. Before that, it was a secret knowledge. And yet we see the sign of it, and we talk. There's a talk about snake power. And then we have this very, very fundamental division to the idea of snake being unholy and holy. There's kind of like two extremes of it. The snake can be interpreted in some cultures as the sense desires. They come like snakes from you.
Like in
But also it can,
in the Bible, the snake is like tempting the female.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that there are temptations like this, and that's okay because it can be that also. But there's a more fundamental and more ancient thing, which is also depicted in mythology and in rock paintings and also in texts. But because it was so holy, because it was sacred, it was kept secret for a very, very long time. And very, very few people actually could talk about it. But the thing is that now on this age that we are now, we can talk about it. I can talk about it. I've been given both the self-realization and the knowledge about it, and also the experiences about it. So this is feminine. Now, if we come back to the mind, how the mind is constructed, and this is also very essential knowledge about human being. The mind is basically constructed upon desires, unfulfilled desires. Is that clear? Because if our desires all would have been fulfilled, we would not need anything.
Yeah, that's true.
If we would not need anything, we wouldn't have to have that kind of action at all to get things. So what would come out of it? Be peace, or peacefulness, contentment, isn't it? So it's kind of a funny thing. So we can put it in this way, maybe, in a theatrical way, that the universe creates place, just like we do in our minds. The universe being this whole Purusha Virata, this cosmic being, is in that sense similar to us. We are like small little fragments of it, or images of it, in a way that we also play with the imagination and create things. So it's just a reflection of the capacity of the larger scale. So what does it mean? It means that, how do I put it? Because these are so, so large sort of explanations, and they need so much background knowledge. It's very difficult to put them in a very short period, like 10 minutes or so. But let's assume, we don't have to believe it, let's assume that there happen to be either natural creation or creative being, which we call now man, human, with these hands, with these feet, with these capacities. And there is what we call evolution, which means development, evolution. So the evolution, if it happens, if it exists, has to have a kind of a way towards that it points to. Otherwise, it will only evolve into different fragmentations and will become more and more fragmented. So if there is an evolution in this way that we are talking about here, there has to be a way to it. It has to point to some way. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to this idea of Adam and Eve. Whether it's true or not, I don't take any part in that discussion. But let's say that two halves come together, unite, and create a procreation. That's evolution. 1, 2 plus 3. 3, 4 plus creates 5. And that's kind of like the model of evolution. Very simple. And it starts desiring. And this is very well depicted in a Shiva Purana, in some old text, that there was created this ancient sun, say, not sun in the sky, but sun like somebody's child, sun, the cosmic sun.
Yeah.
And that started demanding names for itself. That means that it started asking, who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? And because these answers were not given lightly, because it is an evolution, it had to go to the process where it tries and errors, trial and error, which means that it had to learn which is good for me and which is bad for me, which is good for society, which is bad for society. And all these forms started developing everywhere, in different forms, everywhere in humankind. So it had to undergo kind of a period of processing information. This will mean desires. If I desire this, do I get that? If I desire this, do I get that? And if I get that, what happens to me? Do I become happy or non-happy? And if I lose that, do I become happy or non-happy? So trial and error. And now very fast jump into this Krishna's clip. What he said in that monologue of his was that you have to learn to look a heap of dung or heap of earth with the same eye as with a heap of gold. Okay, this is just one example. But what it means, it meant that if you want to achieve the higher knowledge, you cannot be satisfied with either this earth or this gold. You have to be non-reactive towards them. Non-reactive means peaceful. Building peacefulness, calmness, non-reactiveness, little by little, to get out of the maya of the mind or the matrix of the mind. Okay. Now we put the same thing into this whole humankind, that all nations in different shapes and hues and levels are undergoing the trial and error. If we do this, what happens? If we kill those, do we get health? If we do this kind of thing, do we get happy? They all do the same thing. So where does it point to? Everybody's seeking happiness, satisfaction, and peace, as we thought. Some of them are thrill seekers, of course. Some want to be soldiers, of course. But mainly. But let's put it this way, that why is it possible that we two are discussing here about this kind of a very high subject, we could say, or deep subject? It is because this age where we are living, we all can do it. I mean, all those who are a little bit awakened and who are a little bit curious about the things. And what do they want to see? They want to know the truth, isn't it? They want to know what is reality. They want to become peaceful. They want to become happiness. And main thing is that they want to give up lies. Now, what was said about lies? In Bible, it said that the father of lies is a being called Satan. So it's like an archetype of all that is deceptive, lies, and bad things. Whether he or she exists, I don't take any part of that. I don't say anything, but the idea is there. So another thing is that why did we come to the Kundalini, which is very important and interesting thing. Now, if we have analytically thought anything that we have been speaking here now, is that we notice one thing which is also in business world, that these desires will never satisfy us. One of the business laws is such that you cannot be satisfied with the changing desires and achieving something, because the senses move from one to another. First you are hungry, then you are thirsty, then you want this, then you want that. When you got that, so it changes all. So this means, again, energy and movement and fragmentation towards objects. So what does it mean? It means that our attention, our mind is connected to the outer objects to become happy. And nobody becomes happy. It's not possible. Yeah. And why it is not possible? Now, this is the secret that was for a very, very long time was sort of hold back from humanity. Because humanity wasn't ready for it. The whole humanity wasn't ready for it. It was that this Kundalini is the original pure desire. It appears as a feminine force, a universal feminine force, from, we could say, the seed of the universe, to create everything. Every single thing. So that is the original mother, or reflection of the original mother. Christians call it the Holy Spirit, but they don't know what it is. They have no idea. And this is why we look at the same next clip from this Wallace Black Elk, who was a Lakota holy man, died a little while ago, not for many years ago, with whom I had the privilege to sit with in New York, and I was also in ceremonies. And he was a very, very nice person, but also very enlightened. So he knew the essences of things. So let's look at the clip, and I hope that you can understand his English, because he was a little bit paralyzed. He was an old man already, and his talk is not always quite clear, but I think in this clip it's quite clear. So let's look at this.
I think this was only a few minutes.
Yeah, it's only a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's from my own film. Documentary.
So now they take a human body apart. Where do these come from? Not knowing who their father is, nor who their mother is. Well, on the Christian version, they mention Heavenly Father or Our Father, or in the name of the Father, or the Son, or the Holy Ghost. So they say, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. 3 are in one God. But that is not so. So if the Father have a son, it seems like the son should have a mother. So it confuses people. But the teaching of the earth people way of life, it began with grandfather, the great mystery, and grandmother, the earth. So the teaching begins that way. So we never lost track, and we're always in tune with grandfather and grandmother, because the wisdom in itself encompasses the knowledge, and the knowledge is a woman, and she is the temple of God, who gave birth and life to all living. So the power called generation, everything generates life from fire.
So it was important to have these experiences with the native people, because their way of life was still in this idea of oneness, in a mystery which is not confined into the abstract concept of one God. And what was the other part was this mother, the cosmic mother, which is very, very important. And it's actually at the moment much more important than anything else in this world. Because we're shifting now away from this patriarchic world, which is now creating all these wars, all these greeds, all these borders, new set of nations, gets what, and all this. This is all this patriarchy movement. And this mother is coming up now. And as I said, the Kundalini, the secret, what was told very secret for a long time, is that the mother is within us. This is the first thing. And the mother is a coiled energy in us. And the mother, the coiled energy, is in our it's a sacrum bone here, in below, in the first part of our spine.
Is it in the left side?
So it is.
Right?
It's in a bone, inside the bone, but it's in another dimension. It's not the material dimension. But this is what the old seers and saints saw, and that is why the world is full of spirals. So they knew it, because they were in the state of oneness, and they could receive different kind of information than our rational mind, materialistic mind can. Okay. So why is this important? The important thing is that to go further in evolution as a human being, you need to come away from the other desires, because they fragment you and they will never create anything really what is good or benevolent. So you need to come back into the original pure desire. And what does mean the original pure desire, this Kundalini? It means the desire to be connected with the whole. And now, okay, this whole is considered as Father, as God of Allah, Yahweh, Krishna, whatever. But they have completely forgotten and lost the knowledge of how to connect to it. And now we know that there are lots of religious people who go into all kinds of states, like, they start speaking with so-called tongues or anything, or start whirling around. So what good does it do? None of this is benevolent for anything at all. They are just sort of experiences of any kind of a state which can be coming from any source that we don't know. Whereas the Kundalini itself is the pure desire. It means that, like this is saying, knock and the door will be opened. Seek for the truth. As this whole this whole program of yours is called the Truth Seeker.
Yeah, seek out. Yes.
Yeah, seek out. It's exactly the thing that's why it is important, as I said, these podcasters and people like you, and maybe even me also, that we talk about these things so that they come onto the common man's level. That the words themselves and the concepts themselves are not anymore abstractions, but they become sort of like, this is a table, this is a microphone, this is battery, this is a flame, easy like this. And the mystique goes away, because the mystique is artificial thing. And the mystique is upheld by churches, by religions, by sects, and all kinds of things. So it creates a kind of a barrier to this inner knowledge and the wisdom traditions. And that is why it was so important for me to see all these native people, as of course Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi too. She was on top of it, but anyway, they all talk with a very plain, normal language. They say exactly how things are. They are the people of knowledge. They are the Danis. They are the people of the knowledge, the knowledge. They know how things are. So they are united. And that is the thing that we have to have. And now we are going now, or actually we are already in now the first weeks. We are in the age of Aquarius. And this I have also said before, that the age of Aquarius doesn't mean age of Aquarius. The Aquarius sign is originally a water bearer, the water carrier. It's a woman who has water of life in a jar, and it pours from it. Yeah. That is a sign of Kundalini. That is Mother Earth. Yeah, that's a water of life. But the Christians talk about water of life. They have no idea what it is. Kundalini is also the water of life, because it's cool. It's not fire, it's cool. It looks like fire in a vision, but it's cool. So it cools down your system completely, so you become peaceful. Again, peaceful. So the inner happening, which is about to happen for the whole humanity, for those who want it, because you have to desire, the pure desire has to be there. It can happen to you, and it will happen to you, but we have to be quite sort of humble and easy about it. Because you can't play around with Kundalini.
Yeah.
It's a universal mother force.
So why they use water when they baptize a child? They also use water. I think it's something similar to this. You just said
it's an imitation of it.
imitation. Yes.
Yeah, it's an empty imitation. It doesn't mean anything because these are outer reflections. Most of our things, let's say 99% or 95% of our things are outer reflections, as we have been talking about. They are mental ideas of the spiritual realities. So I said this is like a last statement. Everybody, how do you say? We talk about the fall, as you know, how Satan fell from heavens and everything. So we have this concept of falling. Everybody falls immediately when they open their eyes in the morning. Also in a sleep state, they are in a fall state.
Oh, yeah.
So we fall. Where do we fall from? We fall from our inner being, which is the spirit. The witness in us, the sakshi, or the observer in us. Inside of our mind is the spirit itself. This we call as consciousness. As you asked a little bit before, what is the difference or the same? Mind is not consciousness. Consciousness is self-existent. It has everything in itself in potential form. But it produces outside the mother, which means everything that we see, hear, touch, and that's a mother. That's cosmos, energy. We can call it energy also. That's the mother part of the feminine part. So actually, it's everything. Without that, nothing exists. Yeah. And feminine is everything. Everything that exists. Spirit is everything that is non-existent in that way. It's immovable, eternal, and observing everything. Why it's called Father, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't, of course, both of these that don't have sexual things as we have. They are completely beyond everything like that.
Yeah. Maybe because it's patriarchic system, maybe it should be mother, like Wallace said.
Yeah.
So.
And they want to conceptualize everything. But the kind of because the universe is very, very good in making jokes also. It's very sort of a funny thing. And people are very serious also, but it's not like that, you know. The thing is that, you know, what did this patriarchic one God do? That created materialism. Materialism means mother. So it created, the dark father, the dark father. Dark father, the one God, created the dark mother, which is materialism. The fallen forms. They are both fallen forms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So in a way, as you understand, this is not so difficult to understand. The difficulty is that you have to practice and desire these things genuinely if you want to achieve your inner peace.
Yes, it takes time.
But it's not so difficult. But remember this, which I always say to Finns especially. Of course, this is an English-speaking version, but for Finns this is very good because Finns are very silent people. They're like native people, very much like that. Yes. This is also what all the native people said to me, that we are like a brother nation of Europeans.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
When a Finn goes to sauna, to a nice lake, goes to sauna, he goes there. I would say 90% of the Finns, if they don't drink alcohol in there, feel the kind of a peace and feel a kind of a satisfaction there and feel the kind of a stopped state, kind of like a very calm state, in a beautiful state. Then they go out there and they look at the lake there, everything's nice. They're happy there. And this is very, very close to the being the spirit, because it's so pure state. It's calmness, it's peace, it's happiness inside. So all the other actions of the world go away. And this is why Finns go so much to sauna. it takes them very close to the spiritual state.
That's
So
very
Finnish
nice.
people are very.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's very nice to think it like that. That it's
Yeah.
makes us or brings us close to the spirit.
Yeah. And this was that the religions are wrong. The spirit is simple. Spirit is ever present, and it's every one of us. There's no two spirits. There is only one spirit, which means that everything is the spirit. You, me, everybody who's listening, we are the spirit, but we appear in different levels, in different forms. And that is the mother. Yeah. So the mother has become in different hues and shades of desires. But when you go back to the original pure desire, the one desire, you sort of gather the things that are out there, splintered, gone wrong, everything. You gather yourself back into the center. You say center, and then you are close to the spirit again. It's not that difficult at all once you understand this.
Yes, maybe hopefully some who watch this interview or show a little bit understood what you tried to say, and hopefully they want to learn something more in the future, because for me there was lots of like new information, something's familiar, because I have also studied similar things that you have, but not so much that you have. So only a small part of the knowledge that you have, I have maybe get out of the books and documents and stuff like that during the years. For me, it's more or less like I'm just curious, like what's the purpose of the life itself, and like you said, the mind and consciousness, how they need to be separate each other to understand the idea. And maybe the spirit is the third one, and it is, of course.
Well, if you say to yourself now, I am the spirit.
Yeah, I am the spirit. And
what is your name?
Miro.
Yeah. Miro, olisi karhu, eikö mikä se oli? Miro.
Kontio.
What was your name? The whole. Miro.
Miro Kontio.
Miro Kontio. You start by saying, I'm not Miro Kontio. I never was. That's only a creation of your imagination and reactions.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And that's with everybody, all of us.
It's my ego part. But yeah, it was very interesting interview, and very nice that you are my first guest in this show. Hopefully it continues more than one episode, and hopefully the audience liked what you said. And there was interesting clips.
Hey, one thing, they don't have to like it. There's no reason why they should be, why they should like it. They can hate it, they can discard it, whatever they want. I'm not here to please things. I just tell what I know. That's,
It should be it should be always like that. The attitude that
we are free. We have to be free.
Yeah.
Free to make our own errors and decisions.
But yeah, thank you for the interview.
Thank you a lot. Yeah. And it was a real pleasure to be like a first English speaking program here now with the Truth Seekers. It's kind of an honor, but thank you very much. Let's see what the future holds.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.